Hey, everybody, this is Amazing Fantasy Football. I am Josh, and over there is the mashed potatoes and gravy to my turkey.
Christopher.
Yes, Chrissy is. How you doing tonight, Chris?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm pleased that we're almost exactly a day late, if you want to look at it that way, that we got to take some time off for the Thanksgiving holiday to give thanks to all that we are thankful for. And, Cowboys won.
Whatever.
I'm going to spend the evening with my buddy having some drinks and talking fantasy football. What could be better?
That is right. We are doing this the day after Thanksgiving, and I have had my second Thanksgiving in a row today. I'm full.
I haven't had leftovers today. We had a bunch of hors d'oeuvres, I guess you could call them. We had some dip and some cheese and crackers and summer sausage, and I just did that for lunch, honestly.
Right on. So your Thanksgiving was pretty good?
Great. It was great. I mean, it was a little low-key in terms of size, just me and my immediate family, wife and two kids, plus my mother-in-law. Had some sickness going around as far as the three-pronged pandemic, if you want to call it that, with
Yep.
flu, COVID, and RSV. Not all in my household. We managed to get over everything by the time Thanksgiving rolled around, but extended family, nieces, nephews, balls, etc. So, yeah. Are y'all related? No, we're not, sir. Oh, no.
Anyways, like I said, my parents are divorced. I had one with my mom yesterday and one with my dad today. I did more or less all the cooking on both. Everything turned out very good. Simple but tasty food. We don't do various extravagant things, Anyways, so we are Amazing Fantasy Football. This episode comes with one giant caveat that there were 3 games played yesterday
of course,
on Thanksgiving. Some of my guys are going to be a little, I don't know, almost a little redundant, just because, like, I honestly wanted to say Devin Singletary yesterday. Thankfully, not, because he didn't do very good.
I hope I make a mental error like that. I'm pretty sure
I wanted to like have Dawson Knox be one of my tight ends. Thankfully, because I don't think he did very good. No, I think he scored a touchdown.
I think off the top of my head.
I wanted to do like Zeke or Pollard, Alexander Madison, just as kind of a dart throw. He was all right. But anyways, so yeah, with 3 games out of the way, that kind of limits us to, 13 other games. So, woe is the fantasy, problems for us. But
on the flip side, while bye weeks are not done, there are no teams on bye this week.
I think next week is the last week of bye weeks.
Might be 2, 13 and 14.
Yep, you're right. You're 2 more weeks. Because week 14 of all things.
I know. Yeah,
week
I think
14.
They're working their way towards 2 byes, spread out a little better, and going up to 18 games in the next couple seasons.
Yeah. Anyways, so Chris, I believe you got some news for us.
That I do.
Why don't you hit us with some news?
Somewhat in order of position, as sometimes we'd like to do, sometimes we don't. We don't care. Bears are listing quarterback Justin Fields with a separated shoulder as questionable for Sunday's game versus the Jets. I don't have any nuance to kind of get a feel for whether
sounds like he's gonna play, from what I heard, and it's in his non-throwing shoulder. So
correct. Good distinction. Sean McVay rules out Stafford for Week 12 versus the Chiefs.
Concussion.
Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson with a hip is off the injury report and good to go against the Jags. The Texans will, in fact, start Kyle Allen this week versus the Dolphins. Davis Mills has been benched. Speaking of benched quarterbacks, Zach Wilson is benched for Week 12. Speaking of bad quarterbacks.
Mike White.
Yeah, right.
Will start instead of him.
Good point. More bad quarterback news. The Panthers announced that quarterback Sam Darnold will start on Sunday. His chance to make an impression for next season. Bad impression.
What is their backup?
Good impression? Yeah.
Their bridge quarterback, as they draft a quarterback in the first round because
they've got a
really
horrible record.
Need to.
And they should get a decent pick. I mean, they still have that pick. Yeah. Plus, they have second from San Fran for CMC. First.
Yes.
Second. And then some other stuff.
I'm guessing that they'll probably try and trade up to get a guy they want. We'll see.
Yeah.
Anyways, keep rolling.
Head coach Zach Taylor told reporters that running back Joe Mixon with a concussion is out Sunday versus the Titans, while wide receiver Jamar Chase with a hip, going on like 4 weeks now, I think, will be a game time decision.
This is week 5, maybe.
I think it's 4.
This might be week 5.
I think
Because there's a bye week in there too.
I think I expected him back next week because why not put him on IR if you're going to miss 4 weeks?
That was last week. Anyway, so let's keep going.
Could have been. Josh Jacobs with an ankle gets a surprise questionable tag. I think that's only.
Ooh, Zamir White. We might be able to see some Zamir White finally.
Speaking of rookie running backs named White, Leonard Fournette is doubtful for. I'm pretty sure he's out. I thought that I confirmed that. It says doubtful for week 12. I'm gonna go with that for now. That's all but out, right? So. Yeah,
I thought he was going to play. Like they were talking last week, like he was going to play this week. Turns out not. That's okay. Whatever.
They get the Browns for y'all.
That's such a good matchup. More about that in a little bit.
Yeah, right. Not surprised. Where are we? Another doubtful running back. Raheem Mostert listed as doubtful with a knee injury.
More on that in a little bit.
Right. The Broncos are waiving running back Melvin Gordon.
More on that in a little bit.
His time in Denver. Yeah, more on that later on. Just whatever.
Do we want to just get my guys out of the way right now?
No. Chiefs placed running back Clyde Edwards-Helaire on injured reserve due to his
more on that? Sprain. No, I'm just joking.
He's now out a minimum of 4 weeks, of course. Doug Peterson says Darrell Henderson won't play versus Ravens. Newsflash. Darrell Henderson was waived by the Rams and picked up by the Jaguars. Mike Williams with an ankle was ruled out for week 12 versus Arizona. Keenan Allen with a hamstring got in a full practice. More on him later. The Cardinals expect Marquise Brown to be activated off IR and to play Sunday against the Chargers per newly extended head coach Cliff Kingsbury. Will be the first game together with DeAndre Hopkins. And related news, Kyler Murray is also back and will start after missing the last couple of weeks with a hamstring injury.
More on that in a little bit? No.
Chiefs ruled out wide receiver Kadarius Toney with a hamstring for Sunday's game. Juju, concussion, opens with a full practice on Wednesday. I'm going to assume he got another full practice on Thursday. Don't have that readily available right now.
Yeah, AJ Brown with reports take a little bit.
True. AJ Brown with an illness returned to practice on Friday. Mm-hmm. Jerry Jeudy and KJ Hamler not practicing Wednesday. They're looking.
Jerry Jeudy is listed as out.
Yeah, I was about to say. I think I confirmed later on that he was out. My bad. KJ Hamler's not looking too good either.
Yeah, he wasn't looking too good when he was healthy anyway. So
right,
whatever.
It's the team. Giants rookie wide receiver Wandale Robinson tore his ACL and is out for the season.
That is such a bummer.
Yeah, he was pretty good. Slayton's been pretty good too. So,
what did he do yesterday? I didn't even
not
look.
So great. I mean,
damn,
somewhere around 7, 8, or 9 fantasy points. Nothing to sneeze at, but I had some options I was considering over him that I chose over him before. Obviously, the game was played.
Chris, real quick, we have a question here from Brian Pereira. Man, I'm sorry if I butchered that. He says he's 6-5. He still has no solid clue who his RB2 should be. He has James Conner, Jamal Williams, Raheem Mostert. CMC is his one, obviously. Hurts is his QB1. He also has Fields as a trade chip. But okay, so
definitely
doesn't know who to target. He's like, is he jumping the gun? So for this week, James Conner has an amazing matchup against the Chargers.
Okay.
So that should be your. Oh well, maybe you started Jamal Williams, who had an okay game, but and Mostert's hurt. But I mean, like, so he's thinking about taking Justin Fields and trading. I feel like if you have Justin Fields, you're looking at the team that is kind of weak at quarterback, and then ask for whatever running back they have, and then throw in probably James Conner. I would keep Jamal Williams and
I see what you're saying. Should I trade Fields? These are my running backs. Should I trade Fields for a running back? These are my running backs. Right?
So I mean, it just depends on what teams in your league are hurting for a quarterback.
Okay.
What to expect for Justin Fields. Like,
I'd be worried about Fields that they hang him up for the year, depending how this week goes. But hey, they're going to play him. They're the ones who know better than us in terms of his health of his non-throwing shoulder. So
I would get Fear Fields as quickly as possible because who knows if they
assuming this isn't Dynasty, of course.
They might slap him on IR and just be like, hey kid, good job this year. Come back again next year 100% healthy.
What if he gets sacked and somebody throws him down on that left shoulder? I believe it's.
What if he tears his ACL too? Like,
well, yeah, I mean that's possible. It's possible.
So
if you can get something for him before the trade deadlines run out in terms of an RB, yeah, I would.
Do you think that he could get? Hold on a second. Let me just pull it up. Do you think maybe he could get like Ram Stevenson for Fields? Maybe throw in James Conner in there.
They're calling Ram now, Ramondre. Okay.
Yeah, you've never heard like they were doing that in the game the other day.
Fields plus, yeah, I mean.
Or maybe
ETN. You're talking a single quarterback league redraft at the end, towards the end of the season, regular season, regular fantasy.
Hey man,
season.
if you're short a quarterback and Fields, you think Fields is going to put you over the top? There you go.
Somebody's struggling, thinks they can get in the playoffs, and they're just right on that cusp, and they've been playing, quarterback roulette all year. Yes, by all means, Ramondre would be a great piece to go for, but I think it will take Fields plus, like Fields plus.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Mostert. Mostert is hurt this week. Heck, you could sell. You know what I might do? I'd have to look at Detroit's schedule in terms of versus their defenses, the running backs. But I would be strongly considering selling high on Jamal Williams.
You think so?
Yes. Although he just played. Yeah, he just scored 3 rushing touchdowns.
Jacksonville next week, Minnesota. Those are 2 okay. The Jets, Carolina, yeah. Chicago, yeah. Well, they've been
Dallas ran all over Minnesota, so that's a good matchup too.
Yeah, Jacksonville, Minnesota, pretty good. Jets, not so much. Carolina, yes. So Jamal Williams has got it coming up.
Just regression is going to hit any second now.
You think so?
Yep. I mean, I don't know.
I thought Swift is another guy that I kind of like this week, and then just kind of disappointment again.
He scored.
I mean, his overall usage was low again, and just
there was a tweet that showed all of Jamal's touchdowns this year, and it was like 1 yard, 3 yards, 2 yards, 1 yard, 1 yard, 3 yards, 1 yard, 2 yards, 51 yards. It was crazy. Like, he is a goal line back, touchdown dependent, as his snap percentage is 50-60% at best. Like, if I can get what I want, I'm selling Jamal Williams high, no question about it.
Huh? I mean, he's just this year's James Conner, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, Connor stayed healthy through the end of the season, right? I mean, so there's
he says he was wondering about Nick Chubb or Aaron Jones, but it's a 10-team family league, so
I'd probably do Chubb. I'd probably do Chubb if I could get him.
Yeah, Aaron Jones is...
Packers worry me a little.
Yeah, they worry me a lot. And then one last question here before we continue. AJ Brown and Rachaad White for Saquon PPR. I mean, if you need... Okay, I'm guessing he's trying to get Saquon.
Yeah,
I think that'll get it done. I think that's a pretty fair trade, actually.
I think it is. Yeah,
assuming you can give up
behind AJ Brown. Yeah,
exactly. Assuming you got the wide receivers to roll with it, Antonio. Yeah, do it, man.
Agreed.
Saquon's he's on a rough stretch.
They just had a bad dud last week versus Dallas.
Their offensive line.
I'm sorry, this week.
Their offensive line was super banged up going into the game yesterday. So the fact that Saquon even scored is a testament to how good Saquon is.
Yep, for sure.
Literally, there was 5 offensive linemen on their injury report that did not play yesterday. Anyways, let's roll on. Let's keep on rolling here.
Yeah, it was 4.5 last week, 13.2 just yesterday versus Dallas. Yep. So that was fine for Saquon. Where were we with the news and notes? Oh, we did the Cardinals with Kyler and Hollywood.
Yep.
Let's just pick up here just in case I missed it. Chiefs ruled out wide receiver Kadarius Toney with a hamstring.
Skip ahead a couple.
Yeah, you're right. AJ Brown I did also. KJ Hamler, I was almost done, I think. Randall Robinson did that. Lions are designated rookie wide receiver Jameson Williams to return from PUP. Sources. Falcons standout tight end Kyle Pitts is believed to have suffered a torn MCL that would require surgery. This is following his MRI today. A brutal blow to one of the game's best. Blah, 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 blah. He'll have a second opinion. before deciding what's next. So, I don't know, not a whole lot of games left, but yeah, especially with fantasy. A little bit of defense news because Josh loves that. Bill Star Von Miller was diagnosed with a knee sprain based on the initial exams, source said, but the MR will tell us the full story.
It's a torn meniscus. I saw it on the ESPN ticker earlier today.
Oh, okay.
Anyways.
That's the same thing as a knee sprain, I think. Oh, and
you're absolutely right.
And in other related...
Way to make it sound worse, ESPN.
Right. And in the spirit of non-breaking news, Jerry Jones is a racist piece of shit. So there's that. You haven't heard, have you?
What?
There's a photo circulating of him out there with a bunch of white dudes protesting integrating... I'm getting terminology. That's integrating. What's the term? Desegregating his Arkansas University.
Wow, that's
big
how
surprise.
Old Jerry Jones is. Jesus.
Big surprise. 80-year-old from Arkansas is a racist. No offense to Arkansas.
Okay, so let's flush back here to chat here real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Antonio says his next wide receiver after AJ Brown would be Christian Watson. That's pretty good, but his team would be Fields, Walker.
Oh, he has Amon-Ra and okay. Amon-Ra is his first.
Saquon, Amon-Ra, Kelsey, Pollard. That's a Try and get Saquon on there. Yeah, sure. And then Brian says, I guess ASAP first time fantasy player. I'm still trying to figure it out. It's better to have a player play against a better matchup or having a high caliber player on a bad matchup. It depends on the high caliber player and how good or bad the matchup is. But I personally, if I have a good matchup with like an average to okay player in a good matchup, I'll probably play them over a good player with a bad matchup. Now, elite players, like if you have Cooper Kupp, I mean, I know he's hurt right now, but if you have Justin Jefferson, he's healthy, you're playing him no matter what. I don't care how bad the matchup is. Yeah, you're probably going to get that dud, but Justin Jefferson is so good that he could, even in the worst matchup possible, he could easily score 25 points. Like he's just that good.
Yep.
Same with Christian McCaffrey. Like no matter how bad the matchup is, you still play him
anytime.
Like a couple of years ago in his best season and like historically one of the best seasons ever by a running back. Every time he went up against Tampa Bay, he wasn't very good, but you're still rolling him out there because maybe you have like bigger cojones than I do, but I'm like you're starting CMC no matter what, that sort of thing.
You should have I don't know, a half a dozen players at depending on the position, at their position that you just start them every week. Yeah.
The elite guys you start no matter what. You start. I don't care how good a team's defense is against a tight end. You're still rolling out Travis Kelce. Like you don't sit your studs. You don't sit the elites. You play them no matter what because that's why they are the elites. They even in bad matchups they're going to still succeed 9 times or even 80% of the time.
Yep. And then going back to that AJ Brown, getting rid of AJ Brown, but keeping Amon-Ra as your 1, Watson as your 2. Amon-Ra gets. Oh, let me scroll back up real quick. Next week gets the Jags. Oh wait, what about this week?
Not bad.
Bills. He already played. That's right. And he did really well, actually. 30-something, or 28 or 30 points. I said the Jags. After that, he gets the Vikings. I mean, I don't know. I'm pretty sure Dallas lit him up.
The Vikings secondary is
not
good
secondary. Yeah. And then a bad one in, just saw it, Jets. And then another good one in the Panthers. Week 16, championship week. Let's see. The Bears, which are awful. So that's a good matchup.
Yep.
Yeah. Amon-Ra's solid as a 1. All right. I finished up Chris, the news.
You done with the news? Let's keep rolling then.
I was done with the news. So
I'll start with my first guy. My first guy this week is, and for those tuning in, this is with the obvious caveat of your starting CMCs and your Nick Chubbs and whatever. Even though Nick Chubb has a pretty bad matchup this week, you still don't sit him. So my first guy this week, Chris, is James Conner. 3 weeks ago, he returned from his 3.5 week absence. He was eased back into the fold, though. He saw just 71% of the snaps versus The card snaps versus Seattle a week later. He got 96%. That was 2 weeks ago. He ripped off 2 touchdowns and 69 nice yards, of course.
Nice.
Then on Monday Night Football, just 4 days ago, he pulls out 11.4 points versus a very tough San Francisco D. So I'm calling that one a victory right there. He was in on only 77% of the card snaps, but I have a feeling that if the cards were actually like kind of close in that game, Connor probably would have played a little bit more. They're probably still like kind of saving his health a little bit. But this week the Connor is going up against the Chargers, who are giving up the 2nd most rushing yards, the 5th most rushing touchdowns. So as you focus on the fantasy playoffs, or as your focus on the fantasy playoffs aims, start Connor this week. His first name, James. That's some Dr.
Nice.
Seuss shit right there.
Yeah, right. In the way in which it was said. Yep. My first favorite 5 wide receiver of the evening. Again, I like to usually go in descending order. Keenan Allen versus Cardinals in this very same game.
Ooh. Okay.
Mike Williams with an ankle, as it did not practice all week and questionable as of now, but all but confirmed out, I guess, is the way what I'm trying to say. In Keenan Allen's first game back on a pitch count, he logged a 68% snap share with about 5 of his 8 targets for 94 yards, no touchdowns.
Sorry to interrupt, but was that last week you're talking about?
Yep.
Okay.
8 targets, 5 catches, 94 yards, no TDs. Though he did have a key fumble. Still, that stat line and the fact he didn't re-aggravate his hamstring injury is enough to convince me he's back to 100%. The Cardinals' best corner, Byron Murphy, has been ruled out for this game, his 3rd in a row, with a back injury, and Budda Baker has been nursing a high ankle sprain since week 9, but has been playing through the pain. The Cardinals are fresh off. That doesn't make sense. Yes, Cardinals is who they're playing. Sorry, it's the Chargers, Cardinals. The C messed me up. The Cardinals are fresh off giving up 4 passing touchdowns to Jimmy G and a passing score to Van Jefferson versus the Rams with no Stafford or Kupp the week before that. With Mike Williams all but ruled out and having not practiced all week with an ankle injury, I like Keenan Allen and Herbert to be on the same page, and I see Allen as a low-end wide receiver 1/high-end wide receiver 2 this week.
Okay. Want to do a question real quick, Chris?
Sure.
I got a question of Chase or Jalen Waddle. Jamar Chase or Jalen Waddle. I'm just pulling this up real
Chase
quick.
versus the Chiefs. He's not confirmed yet.
Right. I want to make sure that I have the Dolphins matchup correctly.
Niners.
Yeah, okay. Nope.
I'm on the wrong week, guys. Sorry. I'm on week 13. My bad, man.
So here's the thing. If Jamar Chase plays, I'm saying Chase. I love Jalen Waddle to the moon and back. I really do. But it's Jamar Chase if he plays, mainly because teams are beating the Texans by running the ball on them, because that's all you have to do. Their run defense is so bad. That's why I like Jeff Wilson. We'll talk about him here in a second. But
that play.
I know the Dolphins are going to throw. They're going to. And Jalen Waddle will probably score a touchdown because that's what he does. But, I mean, if you're putting me, putting a gun to my head.
You're playing Chase.
Yeah. Gun to my head, Jamar Chase over Jalen Waddle.
Titans are awful versus the passes off the top of my head. And the Sunday noon game, as of 8 hours ago, it's a game time decision for Jamar. I don't think you're going to get an update until game time. So,
yeah. If Chase plays, I'd play Chase. If not, then obviously your decision is obvious. It's a close one though. Like,
it's made for you. Yeah, that's a good point.
I think if you play Jalen Waddle, you have to be, your expectations have to be lower than normal, just because of what teams are doing to the Texans on the ground. It's embarrassing how
game
bad
plan,
the run
heavy
defense
attack
is.
type of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Next, he has one more question. He says, Kenneth Walker or Aaron Jones? Who are the Packers playing, Chris? The Packs be playing
Eagles. They're good versus the run. And why am I not seeing this question?
I am definitely
retracted. I think he might be editing or something. Might have deleted it. Was it also from Clamped? Anyway,
yeah.
Who was the other player?
It was Aaron Jones and Kenneth Walker, which I'm definitely going Kenneth Walker
versus the Raiders.
another guy we're about to talk about here in just a second. Want to talk about
Oh.
Kenneth Walker? Let's talk about Kenneth Walker,
I
Chris.
think
That's right,
you're up,
Chris.
right? Yep, go ahead.
I am picking Kenneth Walker the third versus the Las Vegas Raiders, and I'm picking on the Raiders again because that's just like my hobby in this show, apparently. I'm not going to roll through all of the running back stats here, or the Raiders' defensive stats. But one thing I did find interesting, over the last 3 weeks, Kenny the third has seen his targets double each week. He had 1, then 3, then 6. Anyways, that's not quite double, but you get my point. Why do I bring this up? The Raiders are allowing the third most receptions and the second most receiving yards to running backs. So far, Kenneth Walker is RB19 on the season. So you're starting him regardless. And he'd probably be even higher if he was actually named the starter over Rashad Penny to begin with.
Sooner. Also,
right.
Did he miss any? No, I don't think he missed any.
I don't think he did. He just got a slow start, but that's fine. But you definitely don't expect a turd while starting Kenneth Walker the third.
The third. Oh, that's my favorite so far. I'm very pleased. And speaking of being very pleased, on to my second.
Oh no!
Favorite. I don't know. You may not like it. I really don't care.
Oh no! You were talking about being really pleased. I'm like, oh no.
Oh no! Keep it PG, buddy. PG-13. I don't know. Oh, my chair's a little lower. That's what it is. Punch in a little bit more. Okay. Juju versus the Rams.
Real quick. I wanted to give you a little pushback on Keenan Allen. You think that he's healthy and that he's going to get a full complement?
Yes.
I would have, like, me personally, I'd have picked Josh Palmer. Like, that dude has been getting a lot of targets. He's been looking good with them too.
I mean, he was maybe mediocre last week, but I'm not saying that should detract. I mean, people have.
No, his fantasy points might have been mediocre, but he looked.
It was the week before that.
He still looked good doing it, man. Like I'm starting to wonder if Josh Palmer is becoming a legit wide receiver too.
Well, considering what they have to deal with both Keenan Allen and Mike Williams' injury frequency, then yeah, they need to cut ties. I don't know. I don't want to get too much into nuance, but like Herbert might go to the, stand on the soapbox for Keenan Allen, maybe not for Mike Williams. I'm not in his head. I don't know. There's been some
reports coming out that Keenan Allen has been crying a lot about not getting on the field, saying he's ready, but then they don't play him and everything. There's something weird about this coaching staff.
I do think he's absolutely 100%. I mean, if you want to take the angle of Palmer might just be better, or they might play him more over Keenan. That's a different animal than saying Keenan's not healthy. I absolutely believe Keenan's healthy. They've waited this long. Fine.
But no. I was just saying, like, if I was in your place, I would have done Palmer. Not that, like, at Keenan Allen is. I'm not poo-pooing your Keenan Allen. I was just saying.
No, it's a good talking.
Maybe went Josh Palmer.
You might dislike one of my tight ends then too.
Oh no.
Oh,
sorry. Continue.
On to Juju versus the Rams. The Rams are 11th worst in fantasy points per game given up to the wide receivers on the season. And while they are middle of the road in terms of both passing yards and passing touchdowns surrendered on the season, 14th and 15th best, respectively, one might say, but Chris, Jalen Ramsey is one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Yeah. Wrong. He is allowing a career-high passer rating of 117 in his last 3 games and just gave up 84 yards and 2 scores to the Saints and Andy Dalton. And the Rams as a whole have given up big days to Chris Olave, 5 for 102 and 1, including a 53-yard touchdown. Hopkins, 10 for 98, no touchdowns. They did limit Mike Evans in that previous game, and the Bucks. They did limit Mike Evans and the Bucks in Week 9 in the same 3-game span. But the week before that, Ayuk had a 6 for 81 and 1 stat line. The point being the Rams aren't playing that well and can be beat through the air. In Juju's last 3 full games before the concussion, he averaged 8.3 targets, 7.3 receptions, 108.3 yards, and 0.66 touchdowns. With Tony, hamstring, Hardman, IR, abdomen, and CEH, IR, ankle, all ruled out, I expect Juju to be one of the key focal points of the offense alongside Kelsey and Pacheco. And Juju will be a mid-range wide receiver too.
Who are the Chiefs playing again? The Packers?
Rams. Jalen Ramsey. Rams.
Why didn't I make Pacheco one of mine? Oh yeah, because I'm not keen on him. Anyways,
He's still
yeah,
on the cusp of, like double-digit fantasy
I don't mind
points.
your
Hasn't
juju.
scored
I don't mind your
touchdowns.
juju take. I don't mind it at all. So this is, you're gonna have to bear with me on this next one because I wrote this 3 days ago,
Mhm.
and it's now Rashad White in the news that Leonard Fournette is doubtful and probably won't play. So the Bucks were on bye last week. Fournette got hurt. He's got that hip pointer. Sounds like he's gonna miss a week. Also, if he hasn't been ruled out already. So with last week, excuse me, Rashad White averaged 4.77 yards per carry. By last week, I mean week 10. That was his best efficiency on the ground in his still young career. Perhaps White has gained the momentum to take over this backfield. I'm not really sure. I still think Leonard Fournette's going to be in the mix, but looks like not this week. And the Bucks this week, they're going up against the Cleveland Browns, who are giving up the second most points per game to running backs, the third most rushing yards, and tied for the most rushing touchdowns. If Leonard Fournette was playing this week, I would say you can also start Fournette, but this is more like Rashad White, mainly because White is healthy. Fournette is banged up. So even if he does end up getting on the field, I would maybe play Fournette, but it's more about Rashad White. So, like I said, if there's some positive news about Fournette, you can play him in this matchup, but I think it's looking mighty bright for Rashad White.
Nice. Yeah, as of now, he is listed as doubtful, and the information says a game time decision. So, for Fournette, of course.
I mean, the last time I saw a report was from Wednesday's practice, and that Fournette was dealing with a lot of pain. So, when I saw that, I'm like, this guy ain't playing this week.
Nope, I don't think so either. On to my next wide receiver. Chris Olave versus the 49ers. Very similar to the Juju versus Rams analysis. Much of the shine has worn off the Niners. See what I did there? Gold. Niners. Yeah. Much of the shine has worn off their pass defense as of late. They just gave up 9 receptions and over 90 yards to 2 Cardinal receivers last week, including Greg Dortch, with Colt McCoy as the starter. In Week 10, they gave up a score to DeAndre Carter of the Chargers. And in Week 8, they had a bye week in Week 9. In Week 8, they gave up an 8 for 79 and 1 stat line to Cooper Kupp. Furthermore, the Niners are 13th worst in fantasy points per game given up to wide receivers. Now, the Niners are elite versus run. They are league best both in terms of fantasy points per game given up to RBs and in rushing yards allowed. That tells me the Saints will have to throw to matriculate the ball down the field, and Olave is the clear beneficiary, averaging 8.3 targets per game, leading all Saints and all rookie wide receivers this season. And, as I mentioned earlier in some other analysis, just took a 53-yard bomb to the house versus Ramsey. I didn't put this here. That's weird.
So you're all about Jarvis Landry this week?
No, Chris Olave. Oh. I like Chris Olave as a low-end wide receiver 2 this week.
Cool. Hold on a second. Sorry.
You're fine. My notes just kind of dropped off there. I usually put kind of where I see him this week. Ballpark. There
it was. Sorry, I had a sneeze going on. Okay, my next guy up, Chris, is Latavius Murray versus the Carolina Panthers. Chris, ding dong, Melvin Gordon is gone. Chase Edmonds has also been put on IR. Murray's been getting in limited practices with a wrist injury, but I'm guessing this is the Broncos being cautious since they're down to the corpse of Latavius Murray and Marlon Mack Zombie at running back. This is 100% about the matchup versus the Carolina Panthers, which usually is for me, but the Panthers are giving up the 5th most fantasy points per game, the 4th most rushing yards, and the 7th most rushing touchdowns. Murray isn't the greatest pass catcher, so we won't go into that. Personally, if I'm desperate, I'm grabbing Marlon Mack in case Latavius Murray doesn't play. But this week, I'm going to swallow my pride and let the Bronco Latavius Murray ride.
Right. All right, I found my new favorite. That's my new favorite.
Okay, man, nice. I think you're going to like the next one even better, but go ahead.
I don't see... You said if he plays? I don't see an injury designation as of now for Mr. Latavius.
This
Mr.
was a
Murray.
couple of days ago. Like I said, it was just rest.
Good.
I think it was
Good.
more they were listing something to give him a
Man,
designation to give him like a little bit of veteran rest.
We were eating turkey and having adult beverages. We deserve a day off, and the news can go F itself for one day. So I do not blame it whatsoever, but that's good to know. I like that tout. On to my next wide receiver, which is Paris Campbell versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. Paris Campbell is having a career year now that he is finally healthy and running.
That's not saying much at all.
Now that he's
he
running
could
out
have had like 20 catches for 200 yards, and that's a career year.
But it's more than that, and you know that. He's having a career year that he's finally healthy and running out of the slot for the Colts, in particular with Matt Ryan back as a starter. In Campbell's last 4 games with Matty Ice under center, he is averaging 7 receptions, 68 yards, and has scored 3 times. Again, 4 games, has scored 3 times total, but he's averaging 7 receptions and 68 yards. Furthermore, as a slot receiver, Campbell will draw Arthur Mollett in coverage, who ranks as PFF's 106th cornerback, and we all know how bad the Steelers have been versus the pass, or as a team overall. But for a quick reminder, they rank dead last in fantasy points per game given up to wide receivers, and dead last in passing touchdowns surrendered, and 4th worst in passing yards surrendered. I like Olave as a low-end wide receiver 2 this week. I hit the button. Yes, I did.
Nice.
Sorry.
Nice.
Sorry, they're kind of quick. I'm just
my last guy, Chris, is Michael Carter versus the Chicago Bears. Carter was an absolute bust last week. Pretty much every Jet was, especially Zach Wilson, so much so that he's getting benched. It's a pretty good matchup for Carter this week, though. The Bears gave him the 4th most points to running backs. The problem with Carter, though, is that he's averaging only about 50 of the Jets snaps. So there's that. I'm not too keen on that. Mike White is the Jets starting quarterback for this week. Last year, in the 3+ games, he started. Mike White started in 4, but he was injured in the 4th game. As the Jets starting quarterback, Michael Carter averaged 17.67 points per game last year with Mike White as the starter.
In those 3, or all 4?
In those 3.5 games.
Understood.
And those 4 starts, he averaged 17.67 points per game. That's great. Mm-hmm. That's why everyone was drafting
passes, right?
They was on the ground too.
Okay.
That was 2021. When the Jets line was banged up last year. It's even worse this year, and the Jets offense has played out a lot differently. But hopefully, with Mike White getting back under center, I like Carter to look more like his 2021 form in Week 12. Don't plague your roster with a farter. Start Michael Carter. Chris, can we take a quick break, man? I really need to blow my nose.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll do my last guy if you don't mind while you're gone.
Okay.
Or should I just?
I'm gonna. No, do that. I'm gonna just keep my. I'm gonna turn my screen off though.
No, I'll go to just me anyway.
Okay.
Not important. It's not like how he just not logged off, but I blanked. My last guy of the evening at receiver, my fave 5 is Courtland Sutton versus the Panthers. Again, folks, I do this in descending order. This is my lowest ranked start of the show at receiver. Russell Wilson is bad, no doubt. And Sutton hasn't scored a touchdown in 6 straight games, but does have over 65 yards in half of those 6 games, so 3. And with Jerry Jeudy missing his 2nd straight game this week with an ankle injury, Sutton will get the looks in the passing game. He's averaging 9 targets per game since their Week 9 bye. So over the past 2 games, he's averaging 9 targets per game. Now, the Panthers are kind of middle of the road in terms of fantasy points per game given up to wide receivers, ranking 14th worst and 12th worst in passing yards surrendered. That doesn't make any sense. But they just gave up a career day to Demarcus Robinson of the Ravens. That's why. That is really out of order, folks. My apologies. But they just gave up a career day to Demarcus Robinson of the Ravens with a 9 for 128 stat line. No touchdowns. Sutton plays mostly on the left and will get Keith Taylor in coverage, PFF's 73rd ranked cornerback. But he also sports a 135 passer rating in his coverage. So I like Sutton as a low-end flex this week. So if you're semi-desperate at flex, Sutton should have a nice game, despite Russell being what he has been. All right, trying to find Discord. He's almost back. Next, we've got. Hey, he's back, and I hit the wrong button.
I am back. I've been like just the second we started the show, I was just like, oh my god, my sinuses, and then yeah. Anyways, hey, did you do your last wide receiver?
I just did.
Who was it?
Cortland Sutton versus the Panthers.
Like it? Yep. Versus I'm sorry, the who?
Panthers.
Okay, I thought you said Raiders. Chris, I have a secret sixth this week.
Okay.
This was about Raheem Morris and Jeff Wilson, but Raheem Morris has been, I think he's doubtful at the moment. But anyways,
Mostert.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Maybe he's out. I used both. I used both these guys 2 weeks ago, so this is just a real quick side note. Chris, I think I mentioned something earlier this year about Dolphins being the modern greatest show on turf. Statistically, they're third in total yards per game, second in passing yards, sixth fewest rushing yards though, but sixth most points per game scored, like actual NFL points. That's not bad. The rushing has been better with the addition of Jeff. I was never really much of a Jeff Wilson guy, but this year has turned my opinion around. And like I said earlier about the Dolphins playing the Texans, the key to just destroying the Texans is running the ball. So with Mostert likely out, Jeff Wilson is the guy I'm here to tout.
Love it. Love it. I wonder how they rank the best offenses of all time. I mean, obviously there's some subjectivity to it, but also like, I wonder if they use yards more than points. You think they would use points, right? That would be the key, but I don't know. I mean, the Vikings come to mind with Cunningham, Moss, and Carter.
Yeah.
Show on turf, as you said. Anyway, onward and upward. So that was my last receiver. I'm going to give you my first tight end stream of the week, which is Gerald Everett versus
that's my Cardinals. First guy.
Thought it might be. We like to target the Cardinals and the Seahawks because they
second worst tight end D right now.
I got first, or I'm sorry, I got worst. But it just depends on which
Seattle.
Week. I've got Arizona, but it's by literally 1/10 of a point. So I guess
depends on what site you look at.
Maybe
the site I use, the Cardinals are they are now they're the second worst.
Okay, maybe
by 0.4.
Maybe I say that here. Let's see.
Anyways, keep going.
As mentioned earlier, I expect Keenan Allen is back to 100% and we'll have a good game. Mike Williams hasn't practiced all weekend, is trending out. Everett ranks as the tight end 14 in fantasy points per game. But if you take out the week he left with a groin injury, he's averaging 7.76, which would make him the tight end 6. With Goddard, I'm sorry, I say it like that because I like this Goddard. With Goddard at tight end 5, less than 1/10 a point ahead of him. So in effect, he's really the tight end 5 in points per game. If you take up that, yeah, I'm telling you, dude.
God, tight ends suck ass.
It does. I know. That's why you just wait till you get to my second guy. So, again, if you take out the groin injury game in which he left, he's averaging 7.76, which makes him about the tight end 5, tight end 6. So yeah, Everett sat out last week versus the Chiefs with a groin injury and should be back this week versus the Cardinals, who, as we all know, are awful versus the tight end position, ranking dead last in fantasy points per game given up to tight ends and have given up the second most passing touchdowns on the season and the 4th most passing yards. Start Everett with confidence. Well, I mean, as much confidence as you can have in a tight end not named Travis Kelce. Well, there you have it.
Interesting. I according to Fantasy Pros, on points per game, he is like 12th. 13th.
That's so bright.
What?
I just pulled up Fantasy Pros and it's all white, and a lot to take in.
Anyways, okay, so that's my Gerald Everett was also mine as well. You know, like I more or less said that, you know, Mike Williams, he re-aggravated his sprained ankle. I also said that something that I said earlier. You know, Gerald Everett, he's, according to Sleeper, he's 72% roster, but only 28% started. So, you know, if he's on your bench, yeah, I'd say you could probably start him this week. It's against Arizona. He's got a really good shot. It's also, it comes with a caveat that he plays too, because he's questionable at the moment.
Technically, he's questionable. Yes, sir. Yes.
So, with a groin. But it says here on Sleeper, he was cleared to return. So, there we go. I'm gonna do my next guy, which
for
is
it.
actually Foster Moreau.
I've heard, believe it or not, it's Marrow. Marrow. It's almost like bone marrow. It's marrow. He said
I've never
himself.
heard.
And it looks exactly like Moreau. I know. These dudes will do what they want. with their
Whatever.
name.
So I have it that Seattle is the worst tight end defense, which is literally the only reason Moreau is here. Last week I desperately had to start Moreau. I'm gonna keep saying Moreau, so F you, Foster Moreau. Anyways, I literally had to start him last week. It didn't work out too well, but
Yeah.
Melvin Gordon, Moreau should be a must start this week, especially against Seattle, with also Darren Waller and Hunter Renfrow both on IR. He's averaging just 6 points per game, but starting Moreau this week may not for the be. Starting Moreau may not be for the meek, but I think you can start him in this matchup this week. Kind of butchered that, but whatever. Who's your last tight end? I lost you.
I was muted. My apologies. I was picking my nose. I'm just kidding. That's not what I was doing. I think I was taking a drink or something. Anyway, my last tight end is Trey McBride versus the Chargers. Trey McBride has won the starting tight end position for the Cardinals outright, as evidenced by the fact they demoted Max Williams back down to the practice squad on Tuesday. Let's talk a little bit about what Trey McBride did in school. Last year, his senior year at Colorado State, he caught 90 passes for 1,121 yards and was named a unanimous All-American and won the John Mackey Award. This is just about as good as it gets for a collegiate tight end season, period. The Chargers rank as the 8th best matchup versus tight ends in fantasy points per game and are tied for 8th worst, having given up 16 passing touchdowns on the season. And while safety Derwin James is healthy, fellow starter Nasir Adderley is doubtful, but on track to play with full participation on Wednesday. But it is a thumb injury. I mean, it doesn't affect his ability to cover greatly, but I still think it's somewhat of a factor. Furthermore, they just gave up 3 touchdowns to Kelsey.
Oh my God.
Now he has had a very mediocre.
That's Travis Kelsey, though.
Fair. Now he has had a very mediocre 2 games in a row as the starter, despite averaging an 80% snap share over the past 2 games.
That's good.
But that was with Colt McCoy at quarterback. Kyler is back this week.
That's a very good point.
Kyler is back this week and has shown an affinity for the tight end position when Ertz was healthy. These two have had their first full practices together with McBride running with the ones. And I expect a coming out party for McBride, particular with Hollywood allegedly playing limited snaps and his first game back from a foot injury suffered in week 6. For me, McBride is a borderline tight end 1 this week.
Oh, that's not saying much.
But if you need to start, there you go.
Yeah,
I'm excited about it. I'm excited about it. I felt like I found a bit of a gem.
See what I did? See what can happen when you push yourself, Chris?
I know, right? Remember how downtrodden I was earlier?
I have an honorable mention. David Njoku is pretty widely rostered.
Fair.
But he is questionable. He says this, according to Sleeper, he's cleared to play with his ankle and knee. If for some reason he doesn't, I like Harrison Bryant this week against Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay, according to the website I like to use, is like the 10th worst tight end defense. So, Harrison Bryant is a deep sleeper kind of sort of guy. He's not my sleeper this week, but
You do use Fantasy Pros, right?
For tight end defense or
just
whatever.
For points per game versus
Pro Football
positions.
Reference. But anyways,
anyway, we'll get to it.
Who's your streamer?
My quarterback streamer of the week is your your favorite team, Matt Ryan versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. Obviously, I'm picking.
I thought about it, and I was just like.
Obviously, I'm picking on Steelers a little bit here. There's a point. There's a method. Now, flat out, Matt Ryan is nothing more than a matchup-based streamer, as evidenced by his 8-point dud last week versus the Eagles. But the Eagles are an awful matchup for quarterbacks, ranking best in both passing yards surrendered and fantasy points per game given up to quarterbacks. This week, however, as I mentioned, he gets the Steelers. The other Pennsylvania NFL franchise is practically a mirror opposite of the Eagles in regards to passing defense and fantasy points given up. They
You're
rank fourth.
opposite.
Mirror opposite. Yeah. They're not literally worst, but they were at one point this season. They rank fourth worst in passing yards and fifth worst in fantasy points per game given up to QBs. They just gave up 4 touchdowns to Burrow last week. They did hold Andy Dalton in check in Week 10, but gave up another 4 touchdowns to Jalen Hurts the game before that. At only 20% rostered, Matty Ice is the definition of available, and if you're in a bad spot at QB this week, and I expect him to flirt with QB1 status this week versus the porous Steelers defense.
Okay. My quarterback stream of the week, Chris, is hold your nose, and you may think me dumb for this suggestion. Trust me, I get it. It is Tater Higgins. Hennigan scored 5.44 points versus the Eagles, and then only 6.84 points versus the Texans last week. You might have thought Houston, being the great matchup for the Commanders quarterback, but the Commanders did what a lot of teams do. They just ran all over the Texans. So despite all this, the Commanders have thrown their support behind Taylor Heineke.
Dude, you did it right.
Damn it, I did it right. I accidentally said his name right. Anyways, the Falcons are giving the 8th most points to quarterbacks and the most passing yards. So with all that said, Taylor Hinson may not be a screamer, but he's my quarterback streamer.
Love it. What do I have next? I've got my sleeper of the week, right?
Yeah.
Yep. My sleeper of the week is one Samaje Perine versus the Tennessee Titans. With Mixon sitting out due to a concussion sustained last week versus the Steelers, Perine is slated to start for the Bengals and looked good last week in relief of Mixon after he left. Now, both Mixon and Perine struggled on the ground, but excelled greatly through the air, with Mixon posting a 3 for 3 for 42 yards stat line before he left, and Perine posting a ridiculous 4 for 4 for 52 yards and 3 touchdowns through the air stat line.
Oh, was it 3? Jesus.
Yeah, he scored 3. All 3 of his touchdowns were through the air. Now, what's more promising is the Titans' most recent performances versus pass-catching backs out of the backfield. Titans' last few games versus pass-catching running backs. Last week, Packers backs, 7 catches for 30 yards. Not too crazy, but hey, 7 catches is 3.5 points and a half point PPR. Next, Broncos backs, including Melvin on the couch Gordon, 7 catches for 69 yards.
The legitimate father of your firstborn child, yep.
Right, 7 catches for 69 yards for the Broncos backs.
Nice.
No touchdowns. And then the previous game from that, for the Chiefs backs, 8 catches for 58 yards, 0 touchdowns. Now that excludes a 6-yard shovel pass on a jet sweep from the 6-yard line to Mecole Hardman for whatever that's worth.
Is it shovel?
Shovel. Oh no, I meant to say shovel.
I honestly don't know. I'm asking a legit question. Is it shovel or is it shuttle?
It's shovel, like shoveling a grave. Oh, that got dark quick.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's a shovel pass because sometimes you just scoop it underhanded to him like it's a shovel. You shovel underhanded. Okay. But I'm not sure. I
never know.
Anyway, like I said, for what it's worth, I mean, Mecole Hardman's obviously a receiver. Shovel pass is technically a pass, but it was a jet sweep, and it's kind of like a run for whatever it's worth.
Yep.
Point being,
the ball goes forward, so it's a pass.
Right. Point being, the Titans are, well, I'll get to that here. At only 57% rostered for Samaje Perine, despite Chris Evans returning, and quite frankly, the Titans being excellent versus the run, I like Perine as a sneaky flex play this week. But like I said, don't forget, Titans are really good versus the run, but this is a pass catching back approach.
That's why I'm giving you a pass on this, but otherwise I wouldn't call him much of a sleeper with Mixon out. But
57% rostered.
I'll let it slide. Letting it slide. My sleeper this week is not necessarily a starter, but he's a guy who's a sleeper who could potentially break out for more than 10 points for you, and that is DeAndre Carter. And this also comes with if your league does do points for kick returns,
special teams, okay,
special team yardage and everything. DeAndre Carter there, he returns punts, and I think kickoff too, but I think it's just punts. anyways, so he plays for the Chargers, of course. He's been that kind of wide receiver 2/3 with Keenan Allen and Mike Williams in and out of the lineup, for the Chargers. And he's been not that great. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. He does in the last 3 weeks. He's only been above 10 points once and he scored a touchdown that week. But, even last week he was in on over 80% of the snaps. He's been on over the last 4 games the Chargers have played, has been over 80% of the snaps. Anyways, he's running the routes. He's pretty quick. He's not very big. I didn't realize he was only 5'8". Jeepers. Like I said, he's not very big, but he's out there and he's playing some decent real life football. So, and they're playing the Cardinals too. So there's that. Chris, you think that Keenan Allen is 100% healthy and he's going to be a factor this week? I think it's more Josh Palmer. Nothing to really fight about, but I think there's also room for DeAndre Carter to potentially, do some good for the Chargers this week. So the DeAndre Carter's my sleeper.
Nothing to fight about. It's just a matter of this guy or that.
Yeah, and I don't really, like I said, I don't know if you're gonna start Carter, but if bigger leagues and you're desperate, I could think of worse guys to start. You could start Kenny Golladay.
I'll BRB. Hold the show for just a second.
Holding.
I can't find my mute button.
I'm guessing he found his mute button. So that's more or less the show. I am extremely stuffy all of a sudden. It is ridiculous. I even took an allergy pill. So like I was saying earlier, someone, I don't remember who was, I think it was Brian Pareria, was asking about sitting your studs. I do not sit my studs in Dynasty. I have Nick Chubb. I don't have a plethora of other options because it's Dynasty, but I'm just playing Nick Chubb regardless because he's Nick Chubb. It is against the Bucks. It's not a matchup that I personally enjoy, but Nick Chubb's very good. You're starting him every single week. I'm interested to see I would love to see some Zamir White action this week against the Seahawks with Josh Jacobs supposedly a little banged up and whatever. I really liked Zamir White coming out of college. He has not seen the field whatsoever. I don't know what's up with that. I don't know if Josh McDaniels is just not rotating backs or whatever. But I like Zamir White.
Contradictory to what he did in New England.
Yeah. Well, that was me. I wonder if that's more Belichick than anything else. So,
fair,
Chris,
fair, absolutely.
You're back. Let's end this show.
Yeah, it's really quiet. And you want to go and end it?
Yeah, let's end it.
Yeah, it's really quiet in chat. You're feeling a little under the weather, and
I'm just
still
stuffy
holidays, kind of.
I'm just stuffy all of a sudden, man. It's weird.
Skedaddle.
We have been Amazing Fantasy Football. You can follow me at Josh AFFB on Twitter. You can follow Chris at
AFFB Chris. Did I mess it up?
No, you got it right.
Oh my god, I was like, I really thought hard that time.
You can check out our Discord. It'll be in the show notes. Anyways, like I said, we've been Amazing Fantasy Football. Check out the Sunday morning stream where we go over last minute injury news and lineup questions. And as always, normally this show is on Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Because of Thanksgiving yesterday, we did it on Friday. This week. So I wanted to do a show before Thanksgiving about the Thanksgiving games, and I just ran out of time and didn't even bother proposing it to Chris. So, hey, we have lives outside of this. We don't make money off of it. We do it for our own amusement and for you as well.
Consider me amused.
I didn't say your amusement. I said their amusement.
I said our amusement. Did you say their amusement? Oh, okay.
Well, it was kind of a royal hour.
Anyways,
so yeah, come back on Sunday morning at 10 a.m. Central Time.
Yep.
So until then, good luck, everyone.
Later.